worked on their team. 1,400 people showed up to this tournament, hoping and dreaming to win the entire thing. But it wasn't enough!
Oh my god, that line is not getting old. How about that clip to start things off there? What's going on, YouTube? Global Bells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be going over the Europe International Championships. So I figured I'd start off with a clip like that, you know, from Wolfe Glick, because again, his statement of 1,400 plus players, largest ever in Pokemon history, but in the end, it wasn't enough, kind of just summarizes the whole weekend, especially at the end of Championship Sunday, when if you didn't guess already, yes, Wolfe Glick once again did come out on top here. Man, this guy is just dominating, right? And he even revealed in the post-game interview that he also was the mystery winner of the February IC challenge, man. Like, yo, come on, man. I'm sorry, the Grand Challenge. You know, people were wondering like who won it, and then he just goes out and reveals, oh yeah, that was me. Okay, so he takes Toronto. Okay, he takes the February Grand Challenge, right? And then now he takes EUIC. Yo, this guy just makes my three-peat look like nothing, man. You know, I don't know what else to say. And he's gonna keep playing Pokemon for God knows how long. Okay, you know, more accolades to come, of course. Okay, but shoutouts to the runner-up, man. Shoutouts to Dylan Yeomans. They played a fantastic set. They had a great weekend, of course. And we'll look at their team in a second as well, but you know, we have all the data. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive right back into the LabMouse website here for, you know, just analyzing all the teams and the squads and whatnot. But as always, we're gonna look at usage rates for, you know, the non-restricteds and then the restricted pairings, man. But it just, man, the fact that Mr. Wolfe again just comes out, he plays Perish, you know, and just the fact that, you know, people were saying, oh, you can't play Perish in Regulation G, you know, there's too many ghost types, there's so much damage running around, and then he just comes out and says, you know what, I'm gonna make it work. Okay, and there it is, he does make it work there. Now again, we're not gonna delve too much into his team yet. We'll look at the usage rates first, okay, and then we'll look at the rest of the squads here. So let's hop right back into LabMouse and let's take a look at the usage stats. All right, let's take a look at the usage rate for the non-restricted tier, and honestly, at this point, none of this is a surprise. Okay, we are now basically 6 months into a format, and if this is your top 12 graphic, none of this is like eye-popping to you. You're gonna get Urshifu at number 1. I don't see anything that can take over Urshifu at number 1 anytime soon. It's just too good right now. Surging Strikes, you know, go through Protect, Unseen Fist is busted, you crit every time, obviously. It's too good not to have on most teams here, right? And this number only goes up in day 2, okay? And we'll look at day 2 in a second. But then in 2 and 3, you have your defensive backbone with Incineroar and Amoonguss. So, you know, your other 4 slots can be like very, very offensive. But if you need a defensive supporting backbone, Incin and Amoonguss always have you covered in VGC. Then after that, you're gonna get Heart Flame, Rillaboom, and Raging Bolt to round out 4, 5, and 6. Pretty expected, honestly. You know, Heart Flame just does so much damage. You know, with the Terra or not. And then at the same time, you've got Rillaboom here, you know, with grassy terrain that can make Heart Flame do more damage. You got Fake Out Pressure, which makes Urshifu even more dangerous because, again, you can't protect in front of Fake Out because Surging Strikes can go through it. This is also why Incineroar also pairs well with the Urshifu in that sense. And then to close things out here, you have Raging Bolt, which, again, very splashable on a lot of different teams. You can use it on Trick Room teams. You can use it on Balance teams. You can use it on Tailwind teams. You have Priority Thunderclap. You can utilize Miraidon's terrain. And, you know, Bolt Beam coverage with Calyrex is really good. And it's just a really strong Pokemon that, you know, just works on any kind of team here. And so do the rest of these guys. You know, honestly, you can take 5 of the 6 and then just slap on a restricted, and that would be like a balanced boring team there, right? I say boring, but, you know, very hard-heartedly. But yeah, that's really what it is right now. It's just all about these guys. And then down here, these will come into like other matchups. These are like, you know, your A tier guys. This is like already S tier, most of this. And then down here, these are like your A tier guys. You know, Fluttermane is really, really good, of course, especially with that support set with Sash, you know, Icy Wind, Thunder Wave stuff. You can also play it a little bit more offensive and go for Life Orb, Choice Specs ideas, Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, all very, very strong moves. And then Chien-Pao, again, combos well with Urshifu, you know, Rillaboom, Heart Flame, and other physical restricteds. You have Priority Sucker Punch into Calyrex. This is always going to be strong and always up there. You can blow up terrain with Ice Spinner. You know, nothing else is really crazy here about Chien-Pao. Ferrograph, again, with so much priority, you know, just denying all of that with Armor Tail is really good. Then you have Trick Room for speed control. And then Landorus here has been rising a lot, you know, leading into EUIC, just because lots of teams have it for their Miraidon check, because again, Miraidon can't really touch the Landorus because you are that ground type. So Landorus can do wonders there, and you know, with a Scarf you just outspeed everything too. You can outspeed another Shadow Rider as well, and you're one base speed faster than Chi-Yu, which is also very important, and hence the, you know, Chi-Yu again, another top 12 Pokemon here, rounding it out. Whimsicott has been a little bit more used than Tornadus in terms of usage rate. Okay, 17.8% is pretty high for Whimsicott, but again, you'll see a lot of them on the Miraidon teams. You can see a lot of them on Shadow Rider teams for that matter. But you know, Tailwind, Encore, and then stuff like Helping Hand and other niche ideas that you can do with Whimsicott, you know, just it's pretty punishing. Even Sunny Day Whimsicott is a thing there. The Chi-Yu, of course, you know, with a Scarf or even without a Scarf, is just so dangerous to a Shadow Rider, okay? It can just snarl it and ruin its day. You have Dark Pulse. You can do a lot of damage in the sun. So, you know, even though there is an uptick of Koraidon and Groudon teams there, the Chi-Yu can do even more damage because it does more damage in the sun. So, you know, all of this is, you know, not expected. And then in day 2, it's pretty much the same thing, just shuffling some of the placements there. But now we have an Iron Hands entering, and the Whimsicott ends up dropping out here, from what I understand here. But look at the top 6. It's still the same thing, right? Look at Urshifu's usage. You just went from 55 to 60% usage, right? That's incredible. And then Incin and Rillaboom here, both are getting an increase. Incin going up to 36, Rillaboom going from 26 all the way up to 30. So, you know, your typical Fire, Water, Grass boys are here again, yet again. And then Amoonguss, Hard Flame, and Raging Bolt here. Again, still rounding out your top 6. Not much difference here, just small variance, of course. But then the bottom 6 here, it's the same thing. Now, the only thing now is, or what's also entering the fray, is the Ogerpon Cornerstone, which is, again, really good on most teams too. Like, you could play it on, you know, Trick Room teams, Balance teams, and Hyper Offensive teams. Sturdy is really good in Regulation G if you haven't figured it out already, okay? And then just Rock coverage is really good into a lot of this. Like, it's either super effective or neutral into everything here, right? Which is really good. And then, you know, Chi-Yu getting a little bit of a surge in usage there, but still you get Farigiraf here, rounding it out here. And then, of course, like we said, Iron Hands, really good into almost a lot of this stuff too, right? Just Hands is just, again, remember what we said about Iron Hands for a while now. This thing was top 3 in usage without an ability because there was no Miraidon for a while. Now you add Miraidon, and now all of a sudden Iron Hands gets to take advantage of its Cork Drive, and it does a lot of damage too, okay? And that's where most of the Iron Hands teams are seen. It's on those Miraidon teams, seldomly on some of those Tornadus Chi-Yu teams, you know, that are a little bit more hyper offense, that want a little bit more, you know, for their Trick Room ideas. But, you know, Iron Hands is always just going to be a really, really good Pokemon to slap onto a lot of different teams here. So, honestly, none of this is a surprise. Like I said, so, you know, I would expect this to stay more or less the same for a while. Like, maybe the Landorus gets back in here. Maybe the Whimsicott gets back in here. But other than that, you know, those are still going to be, like, within the top 15 regardless there. So, it's just all a little bit of variance depending on the region. But at this point, you know, these are your top 12s without a doubt. Now, in terms of the restricted uses, this is what day 1 looks like. And it is the Shadow Rider at number 1. Followed by Miraidon and Ice Rider at numbers 2 and 3. And that is no surprise. Again, that's been the case pretty much in every single regional/IC now. They're going to be flip-flopping, you know, between 1, 2, and 3, I think, for the rest of the time here. Again, just the 2 Calyrexes, like we said, when you get to click Astral Barrage and Glacial Lance and have the chance to just steamroll off of KOs like that, and the fact that your spread moves have no drawback, there's no check for accuracy, there's no dependence on HP or anything like that, you're going to be high in usage. That's why these 2 are, you know, within the top 3. And that's why Groudon and Kyogre are down here instead, right? Because they get checked by accuracy/HP stuff. So, you know, after that, of course, Miraidon's going to be up there too. Because, again, Miraidon just does so much damage and it gives you terrain control. And then, you know, Zamazenta and Pagos will round out, you know, slots 4 and 5. I thought Kyogre would get a little bit more than Pagos, in all honesty. I think Kyogre has performed a little bit better than Pagos. It's ideally a better Calm Mind user at the moment, at least leading into this tour. So I thought it would get more. Now, you might say Clover, 8% versus 7.9%. That's basically the same thing. Yes, but I thought Ogre could at least crack double digits, whereas Pagos would stay in single digits. That's what I'm saying here, right? But that was not to be. But then, of course, then you get the other Sun Boys here, Koraidon, which, of course, was the winner, okay? And then Groudon rounding it out here in terms of your top 8, right? And honestly, this is probably not going to change anyway, you know, for the rest of the time, you know, that we have left of Regulation G. Of course, when I say rest of the time, you know, we still have like over 2 months left. So, yeah, that if you look at this, this is the day 2 graphic. And look, there's no change in terms of positioning between almost each of these restrictors. The only difference now is that Calyrex, Ice Rider, and Miraidon flip-flopped between 2nd and 3rd place. That's going to happen, obviously, but, you know, to each their own. But you're still going to get these guys at 1, 2, and 3, depending on the regional and depending on where it is that you're playing this, right? So as Shadow Rider at 27%, up from 19, that's good conversion. Ice Rider stays pretty much the same, 16.5 to 17. Miraidon, a little bit of a dip to 14.9, but again, you know, that's just variance there. And again, I'm surprised to see, you know, Kyogre, you know, dip a little bit more, even further than Pagos. I thought Pagos would have dipped more and Ogre would surpass it, but that was not to be. So, you know, a little bit interesting there, but there's still time for Ogre to come through here. And of course, these two are still rounding it out here. Again, this just goes to show you, like, again, if you have no drawback to your signature move, you're gonna be ahead of the others, right? So like these guys, again, no drawback here. Body press, really, really strong. You know, this guy, you need to set up, okay? You know, you need like 5 turns to set up, and then you can actually do some decent damage with Terra Starfall, right? Same thing with Ogre here. Again, Calm Mind setup. You know, you got to go with Origin Pulses, and of course that can miss. This thing has single target capabilities. You know, it's a pretty strong move, right? And lo and behold, Wolfe Glick didn't even use it. You know, and that gives you a decent matchup into Pagos, but everything else looks kind of iffy there. And then, of course, Groudon, just like Kyogre, sometimes he leaves his glasses at home, and, you know, Precipice Blaze just does not hit, and you have to be forced to run some single target ground moves like High Horsepower / Stomping Tantrum, right? But anyway, that being said, so, you know, in terms of the restrictors, this is what we're looking at for day 2. So now let's look at the squads and let's see what exactly transpired at EUIC. Okay, so let's take a look at the top 8 results here. Of course, we're going to look at Wolfe Glick's first, and it is the Perish Trap kind of squad here. So what was interesting, not just the Perish Trap idea from Wolfe, but also the item on the Koraidon here. So first of all, you've got Koraidon, not with the Clear Amulet, as most people have been running up until this point, with the seldomly used, you know, Choice Band idea, but now we have Life Orb Koraidon here, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and Flame Charge. And what's interesting here is right away you notice there is no Collision Course here. It is Close Combat. Why the choice there? Well, if you think about it, Collision Course is really getting its most value only when you're like super effective. But in terms of like just neutral hits, Close Combat is just better, right? And things that do take super effective damage anyway, they're dying regardless. So you don't really necessarily need the boost coming out of the Collision Course there, right? And then the choice here for Life Orb, instead of the Clear Amulet, you're getting even more damage now, okay? But then you might say, well, wait a minute, don't I just get intimidated by Incineroar and don't I get cycled? Well, there's 2 things for that in response. I'm gonna bring you the damage calculator here. Let's say I put Koraidon here at max attack. I'll put it at Jolly for anything. Jolly Life Orb against a pretty standard Incineroar. 252 HP, 188 Impish, right? That's for like the Urshifu calc. Right? Look at this. You still kill. Like, this is Close Combat at let's put it at -1. Okay, you're still killing this thing, right? 93.8% chance to kill it. Like, you're getting that roll, okay? And we don't even know if Wolfe was Adamant or Jolly. I think he was Jolly. I'm not even sure. But even if he wasn't Jolly, if he was Adamant, like, that is KOing, you know, what some of the most bulkiest instants there. Unless this is like 252, 252 anyway. But Close Combat is killing, even at -1 there. And then you might say, well, wait a minute, what about the cycling? Well, how's he going to cycle if you have a Gothitelle that is stopping the Incineroar from cycling, and you actually trap the Incin, you know, with the Koraidon, if that is the scenario, if they even lead the Incin. So you can't even switch out anymore. You're going to die to the Close Combat, right? So it's a smart idea here, because now you're getting more damage. You're not necessarily worried about the Intimidate drop. because, you know, you can just cycle in and out. Because look at your backbone here. You're very defensive. You're very bulky. You've got Scream Tail, Amoonguss, / Incineroar over here. So to switch out the Koraidon and reset the Intimidate buff and then just kill the Incin is just not a big deal. You can do it, okay? And that's what Wolfe is saying over here, right? And yes, we do have the Perish idea, right? With the Scream Tail, the Encore Disable stuff, okay? And that's how you're going to maneuver around this. Like, you've got Parting Shot to help you out. You got Amoonguss again, you know, just if you pivot this in and out, you're getting health back. You know, Koraidon, even if it gets intimidated, you can just reset it. And then again, the Gothitelle, you know, with Fake Out and Taunt is really good here. You've got Protect here. You know, all these mods have Protect. Look at this. He even put Protect on his Instant. And you need to play this way if you want to take advantage of Perish, because again, you need to reduce the amount of damage you're taking. So this way, your Pokemon stay safe for the ticks on the Perish turns, and then you can just pivot them out, pivot them in, and keep alternating your Protects. Okay, until you get the board position that you want, where Perish Trap just finishes off your opponent there, right? So really, really smart building here. I think it has to be like 6 Protects here, okay? And again, you know, you've got your Flutter Mane, okay, which is not really affected so much by the quote-unquote Perish idea there. And you don't even necessarily need the KOs from Perish. What you can do is use the Perish to change the board state. You can just force the opponent to switch things out because they don't want to feint, and then all of a sudden they're out of position because, you know, they had to switch it out there, right? So it's a good idea here, you know, just in terms of this 6. So shout outs to Wolfe for utilizing this. And again, the mystery winner from the Grand Challenge there. So there's that. I'm sure you'll see lots of this on ladder, you know, after today. But of course, you can still play around it. And I always say this, you know, I've been telling people a lot of this, and I'm sure you've been hearing this a lot from others as well. Like, only someone like Wolfe Glick can play Perish as well as he can. Like, this guy does not lose with Perish. But if somebody else is playing Perish, you're a little bit more confident because you're like, that's not Wolfe Glick. That's just, you know, average everyday Charlie trying to make this work there. So you're a little bit more confident. Not saying you can't make it work, but, you know, there's a difference between Wolfe using Perish and someone else using Perish. Hence the reason why the name is called Wolfie Con Perish there, right? So then after that, let's go down the list here. Let's go down to Dylan's team there. Okay, this is the Miraidon stuff with Iron Treads here. No Whimsicott, no Tailwind needed. This is the Roar Ferrograph here. And Dylan, I remember this team. I think they used it in their own global challenge as well. So they're just bringing it here in EUIC and trying to utilize this. The key here was Roar Ferrograph. We saw this last year, and they're bringing it back here. But basically, if you watch the stream here, even if you didn't watch the stream, you kind of know, you know, a couple of uses of Roar here. They used it to get their Incineroar out because, again, the trapping potential is there. But, you know, you could just use this on your own and just pivot out, pivot back in. But also, what you can do with Roar is with Miraidon here, because when you nuke something with Draco Meteor, you're kind of stuck there at -2, and you have to, like, quote-unquote hard switch out. You can't use your Volt Switch because you're specs. So what you can do with Ferrograph is after you use Draco Meteor, you use Roar on yourself and bring something else back in, okay? And then Miraidon can come back in later with all of its debuffs reset there. That's the use of Roar, okay? And then, of course, the Iron Treads, really good in, like, mirror matchups, of course. Just strong coverage altogether, especially with Rock Slide, Iron Head, high horsepower here. Urshifu Dark, this is for your Shadow Rider / Ice Rider matchup. Iron Hands is just really good all in all. I think the main difference was that this is Dark Terra now versus Stellar in the Global Challenge team. And everything else, it was the Iron Hands always poison? I think it was, I'm not sure. But anyway, Rocky Helmet Instant also really, really good right now. But after this, you know, again, Terra Poison Iron Hands, that's gonna resist the Fairy weakness, of course, which is really good. You're still weak to Psychic, you're still weak to ground stuff, but at least with the Fairy stuff, you know, Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast coming from Flutter Mane, you can, you know, resist that altogether, which is kind of nice in my opinion there. Okay, and then after this, yeah, this is a pretty cool team here. Again, it's just all a matter of like, okay, I don't have Tailwind, but I do have my Trick Room mode, and then everything else here, like I still have Instant and Iron Hands here, you know, double Fake Out stuff. I can just reposition and just utilize my Fake Outs anyway and shut down those slots there and, you know, just do so much damage from these guys here, right? So that's what Dylan is saying with their squad. Then as we go down here, all right, this is Yosuke's squad here. So this is Calyrex with, you know, the Flutterfish combination here, the Scarf Chiyu, of course, then the Booster Energy Flutter, you know, with Icy Wind support, And then Cornerstone, like we said, you know, Sturdy's really good. You got 2 redirectors here to try and set up your Trick Room. Your Urshifu Rapid Strike gives you this Fire with a Grass Core with the Mungus and Chiyu here. And there's the taunt on the Sash Urshifu, right? Remember we talked about this, especially we showed this in our Lunala team building video, how useful like building with Urshifu and taunt is. So here it is again. But you know, you have ideas, and it's very clear with what you're trying to do. You have the slow mode and the Trick Room mode, and then you have the fast mode with the Chiyu and the Flutter Mane over here, and even Urshifu can kind of just clean things up in the end game, especially with the Sash, right? So then after that, you go to Tehran Birdie's team here, another UK representative, and this one is pretty standard Miraidon stuff, and here's the Whimsicott yet again. So nothing really crazy about this. This team we've seen for 6 months already, so I'm not really going to talk about it. Gavin Michaels, here's the Kyogre squad within the top 8 here. And we like this kind of Kyogre team. We love Tornadus, Ogre, Chien-Pao, Ursh, right? And if you remember the team that we made for the World Championships last year for Richard, it utilized all 5 of these mons. You know, Amoonguss, Tornadus, Chien-Pao, Ogre, Urshifu. The only difference was that we had our Calyrex in this slot, but Gavin has the Iron Hands in this slot. Is it better? Maybe, probably, okay? But at the time, back in 2024, our Calyrex was looking pretty good there, and Richard was doing pretty well with it there. And again, this 5 is always going to be good. You don't necessarily need, you know, Serena slash Farigiraf for like the anti-priority stuff. You have your Amoonguss anyway, so you can kind of just redirect all that stuff regardless. So, you know, to each their own. And then Iron Hands is just really good as far as like a little bit more Trick Room assurance. And again, Fake Out plus Surging Strikes is always busted, okay? Then as we go down the list further, we got Joe Ugarte, Grant, and Theotime. That's a cool name. Theotime? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But here we go from Joe's squad. Look at this. Grimmsnarl, defensive playstyle here with Thunder Wave and Light Screen, Reflect. And then, of course, the Ditto, being able to come in and copy a free restricted, or even not even a free restricted, maybe just something else. Maybe copy like a Whimsicott, copy their Tailwind, and now all of a sudden Miraidon and Urshifu are just outspeeding everything. Interesting choice to go with the offensive Volcarona here. Fiery Dance, you know, Quiver Dance, and Giga Drain there. Usually this time around, Volcarona is more of a support idea, but Joe is saying, I'm going to be more aggressive with this because I got all the support down here with my Grimmsnarl and my Iron Hands with Fake Out. So I can Fake Out and set up my Quiver Dances, and then all of a sudden Volcarona can be a sweeper too. And then here's the Terra Poison Ursh. Look at this. This is cool. This is Swords Dance Urshifu here, right? So you've got the screens to pull it off. You've got the Fake Out pressure here. So you can do Fake Out Swords Dance, Fake Out Surging Strikes. Really good ideas here from Joe. You know, again, trying to make Urshifu, you know, deal super big damage. And again, you've got the screens to you know, give yourself some bulk where everything can just survive and live everything and ruin a lot of damage calcs there. So I like that idea. So nice squad there from Joe. Then Grant here, another Miraidon variant. Look at this, another Grimmsnarl Miraidon team. So no more Whimsicott stuff here. Instead, now what we're doing is we're switching Prankster Mons here. We're still going to keep Farigiraf and Iron Hands. And I guess we can keep Urshifu, but we're going with Entei over something like an Ogerpon here. So that's pretty cool. You know, Inner Focus, Life Orb, Terra Normal, Entei, Sacred Fire, Extreme Speed, Stomping Tantrum, Protect. You know, again, with Inner Focus, you can't get intimidated, whereas, you know, Ogerpon can. And then, you know, you pressure with Sacred Fire, you can burn, you have priority E-Speed, you know, you can pick up some KOs that way that are just like kind of left over after Miraidon Urshifu have done so much damage. Again, normal typing is pretty good for that Shadow Rider matchup. You don't take Astral Barrage damage. Stomping Tantrum, your last little tech move there for a little bit of ground coverage against other fire types. But, you know, this is another way that you can definitely play Miraidon here. Look how many Miraidon teams we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got 4 Miraidon teams here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then we also have 4 Iron Hands. So that's no coincidence, by the way. 4 Miraidon teams, 4 Iron Hands in the top 8. All right, and then down here, look at Theo here with the lone Shadow Rider team within top 8. This is the Draining Kiss Calm Mind idea with the double Fake Out and the redirection, this time coming from the Clefairy. Your Wide Guard user is the Pelipper, and then here's the Urshifu Rapid Strike. This is a little bit of a different Shadow Rider balance. You know, there's some different pieces. We understand the Clefairy, Rillaboom, Instant, Ursh, right? You know, I guess this is okay. Usually you'll see something like Tornadus here. You'll see something like Mienshao here, or maybe you give up one of these pieces and then you go with the Tornadus. But we're going with Pelipper instead. So interesting choice to go with the Pelipper. Does a couple things. You get wide guard support. That's pretty good in the mirror. And then at the same time, you enable your Urshifu here. So Mystic Water in the rain is going to do tons of damage here. All right, follow me, helping and Life Dew on the clear. Oh, you can even give yourself flare, recovery here with Life Dew. So you can even get your Sash back if you wanted. But this is another, way of using Calyrex balance, if what you will. Remember how we predicted if Shadow Rider wanted to do a little bit better, it had to play like with the expanding force way, and there were a lot of Tailwind expanding force Calyrex teams, and we'll get to those as we go down the list here. But so what did we learn from this topic? 4 Miraidons. So Miraidon is still stronger than ever. Okay, 1 Ice Rider, 1 Shadow Rider. Okay, and then of course the lone Koraidon team over here taking it up, and then you still get a Kyogre in top 8. So there's some ideas. There's some variance within your top 8, so that's pretty cool. Okay, but now I want to see like what the other cores look like with some of these restricteds. All right, so now let's look at some of these other ideas that people are doing with their Miraidons, with their Calyrexes, with their Ogrepons and their Koraidons. I said Ogrepon. All right, let's look at the CSR cores here. Now, a couple things here with Calyrex-Shadow Rider. You're either doing like the balance stuff with, double fake out and or redirection or double redirection, or you're doing like the Tailwind aggressive stuff, with Indeeding expanding force, or you're doing like these Dondozo variants, especially with like Roaring Moon stuff, okay? Calyrex Wheezing ideas is what I'm saying. So, there's lots of, a lot of strong teams that had strong results with CSR. Like, I'm not going to lie here. Like, and it just all depends on the given day, right? But of course, let's look at this one down here. Like, we actually played against this in our Lunala video. Someone was actually using this, and remember how we said, we were surprised that Meteor Beam picked up the Chenpao because usually this thing has a sash. Well, the sash was on the Calyrex, and because of that, we killed the Chenpao, and then we won because of that. So, now we know that was Kyle's team here, right? So this is another interesting way to do it. Calyrex Wheezing here, with Taunt, the Toxic Spike stuff. And then at the same time, you got Chenpao Dragonite, the aggressive E-Speed stuff, along with blowing up terrain and whatnot, okay? And then you have Iron Hands and Urshifu here. Like we said before, Fake Out, Surging Strikes is busted, okay? Then this stuff right here. So you've got the Mienshao and the Clefairy like we spoke about here. So this is all about protecting the king and trying to set it up. So, no surprises here. We've seen this team even since last year, and it's still good even right now. You got Fake Out Pressure, with Taunt and Wide Guard. You got all the support you need. So it's like fulfilling that Pelipper role with Wide Guard support. Now here we have Mienshao providing that Wide Guard support here. This one from Wenti, you usually don't see this. You usually don't see like double Ghost here with Flutter Mane and Calyrex. I think Matt was the only one that had it, amongst like some of these top teams here. I don't know if there was another Flutter Mane on the same team with Calyrex, because sometimes the double up with the Ghost typing is a little bit tricky. This is probably why he has Terra Dark here for that reason. But again, you know what you're doing with Flutter Mane, Chiyu, the Flutterfish idea. Chiyu's Shadow Rider is also really strong. Again, Fake Out and Redirection, try and set up the nasty plot here. So you're still like pretty aggressive, but you can still set up too. And of course, you got your classic, CSR balance stuff right here. That's still like really good even right now. There's like 20 of these, okay? Then you get stuff like this. Where is it? Okay, this one's interesting, right? Again, another Wheezing team here. But you've got Okie Dokie here with AV, Drain Punch, Knockoff, Upper Hand, Gung Shot. Okay, again, Guard Dog, you don't care about Intimidate, you're fine. And then you've got Mousehold here, interestingly enough. You got Taunt, Helping Hand, Feint. Friend Guard is really good. So I guess this is, normal typing against the mirror matchup against, I guess some value over Clefairy in this sense. And then you got Iron Veiling here with Wide Guard too. Okay, Wide Guard and Coaching. Okay, I guess we're coaching the Roaring Moon / the Okie Dokie here, but pretty cool team. Like very different from some of the other Shadow Rider teams that you might find. This one has the Iron Jugulus, okay, to provide Tailwind as opposed to adding something like Tornadus here. So that's also pretty cool there. And then you get the aggressive stuff like this, right? With Yuki Xananovich, they used this before in the VR tour. Again, this almost looks like the Zacian team here, but then you're just adding Calyrex over the Zacian, you know, with, of course, you're getting Astrobrowse, Expanding Force, Indeedee, Tailwind, and Urshifu. Remember, this is the structure that we had in building our Lunala teams, right? You just have a Lunala here, the Terrain Setter, the Tailwind Setter, the Physical Breaker, and then the last 2 slots are up for grabs here. So this is another way that you can do this. So shout outs to Yuki for, again, bringing this back. I think there was even another one that I overlooked it. Okay, I don't remember if I skipped it or if it was just Yuki. But anyway, other than that, you know, more or less mixing and matching these pieces here. This one's the Dondozo idea, right? With the Calyrex and the Weezing stuff here. This is going for those defense boosting order ups. Then you're just cleaning up with body presses in the back. This is going to smash those Pagos teams and those Zamazenta squads also. And then other Terranormal stuff you can also use the Dondozo for. And then, you know, you're getting a lot of Tailwind stuff here. This one has Smeargle. So you can even add Smeargle for support, you know, with Spore and Wide Guard. Again, fulfilling that same role that Mienshao can do. And, you know, this one, all right, this one I wanted to look at also, right? This is, again, Dozo, you know, Tinglu with the Yawn plus Sandtomb stuff. I think this is Dawei's team. I think something like that. I think it's almost the same, or it could be the same. You know, I'll have to take a look at Dawei's team in a second. But again, the whole idea is that you're trapping with Sandtomb along with Yawn pressure. So if they go to sleep, they can't switch out. And then even if things do want to switch out a Yawn, you have Stealth Rocks. So now everything is taking chip damage. You're breaking Sash. And if you break Sash, the Calyrex can just easily clean you up, right? So this is also something that's really, really good. What else are we looking at in terms of these aggressive Calyrex scores here? There's one with Annihilate down there. I honestly, you know, a lot of these CSR teams, it's just all a matter of like mixing and matching your Wide Guard user, your Tailwind Setter, and then you're still getting a Fire, Water, Grass core, okay? And if you're not doing that, then you're doing the Weezing stuff, okay? And that's really what it's coming down to with these Calyrex teams. And you can play that way. Like, you can see like how successful they are, like really, really good stuff. But, you know, just use them as personal reference here. But I like playing the Expanding Force stuff. Like, for example, this team right here from Marco, right? This is the way I like to play Calyrex almost, okay? Right now, at least right now. Indeedee, give me the Tailwind, give me the Ursh, give me the Calyrex, and then give me my 2 support, well, not support, but give me my other 2 slots here, but at least give me these 4, okay? They're going with Cornerstone, they're going with Chiyu. I love this, right? The Chiyu benefits the Calyrex, and it just makes a lot of sense. And you have a physical presence with the Urshifu and the Cornerstone over here. So I like this from Marco, and he did well, right? He got 9-3, so shout outs to them. But yeah, this is what it's all about with the CSR. All right, as far as the Ice Rider teams here, remember how we said in our preview video that we expected this to win? And now if we look at look at the results here, close, right? You know, there we go, Paul Chua, right? Top 20 with that core that I was talking about there. But let's see what else we got over here. Look at Joji here at 9th place over here. This is Grimmsnarl, Calyrex-Ice Rider. Grimmsnarl popping off a little bit in this regional, or IC, I should say. Look at this. There's Calyrex, there's Landorus, and now we're going with a Grimmsnarl backbone here with Ogerpon Cornerstone here, right? Then you've got Bolt Beam coverage, you know, with Raging Bolt and Calyrex, and then of course you got Urshifu over here. So this is pretty cool. Then Paul Chua here, again, just going with Instant Amoonguss, defensive backbone. Give me an Urshifu here, and then give me that Landorus for my Miraidon matchup. Give me Raging Bolt again. AV set here with Snarl. Lots of damage mitigation with Snarl and Intimidate and Parting Shot. So there's the taunt again from the Urshifu. We love the taunt on Urshifu right now. But they gave up close combat there. And, you know, I've always been a little bit iffy about that. I guess Aqua Jet is still like pretty strong, you know, just for cleaning up things. But, you know, to give up close combat is quite interesting there. But it still works. It just depends on you as a player. Terra Water Calyrex, by the way. Then look at this. Look how many Landorus and Roaring Moon stuff that you're going to find here. A lot of this is, you know, some of Justin's team here, but not all. Okay, look at this one down here as well. Like Junshi, again, same thing over here as Joji. Probably built together more or less. What else is also pretty different here? I like this one, right? This one is like old school, you know, summertime 2024 Calyrex team here, right? With Pelipper, Amoonguss, and Landorus here. So now you have 100% accurate Sandsphere Storms. You got Urshifu and Raging Bolt here, same thing. I like this, you know, the fact that this is still good even right now in 2025 just goes to show you like how good of a basic core it is. But some of the other ones like this, okay, this is the other way to play it besides, you know, the Landorus and Mungus stuff. I like this one too. Okay, the Torkoal with Smeargle and then Blood Moon Ursaluna. I always thought this was also a pretty good core because you've got the Calyrex for like your physical Trick Room coverage, and then you still need a special end, right? So you could either see the Torkoal or the Blood Moon. Sometimes you'll get both, like what Ryan is doing here. Otherwise, you'll just get one over the other. But then you add the Smeargle here, and then some Redirector, and then you add an Urshifu here. So this is pretty expected too. So shoutouts to Ryan for utilizing that idea. And then over here, look at this one from William Brown. Same idea, like we said. Give me the Redirector, give me the Urshifu, but instead of Torkoal, give me an Ogerpon Hardflame instead. So now you're not fully committing to the Trick Room mode. At least you get, you know, look at this, 1, 2, 3 Redirectors on your team here. All right, so I guess they're all needed more or less. Okay, this one, same idea here. Give me the Redirector, give me the Urshifu, give me a Smeargle, give me a Blood Moon, and then finally a Mungus instead of the Ogerpon there. So once again, 1, 2, 3 Redirectors here. Okay, and then here's the coaching Urshifu stuff there. So you can kind of see familiar formulas from those type of Calyrex Ice Rider teams if you're not doing the Instant Amoonguss Lando stuff, which is all the way up here. So, you know, both are working. Then you have the Alecki stuff, right? You know, with Alecki Lando as well. Alecki, you know, able to outspeed Shadow Rider, you know, especially with Electro Web here. Let's take a look at Jack's team here, right? Yeah, exactly. And then you have your pivot move with Volt Switch. So, you know, that's pretty good with the Mungus, you know, just comboing that well with Regenerator in and out. And then, you know, Imprison Calyrex, you know, really good in the mirror. They can't click their Trick Room either. Shut down Ferrographs as well. And then as we go down here, these are some like other niche ideas, but again, still similar cores here with Instant Amoonguss. So I like that as well. So overall, these Calyrex Ice Rider teams, they have some familiar ideas. Again, it's all about the Lando Amoonguss idea, all right? Or you may go the Smeargle route with Torkoal and or Blood Moon. I think these are the strongest types of Calyrex Ice Rider teams right now. You want to play Kyogre right now, so let's look at the most popular core right now. It's basically Kyogre Tornadus, right? And then like we said earlier, it's all about Chien-Pao Urshifu. And this is your core 4, right? Because again, Urshifu is going to do a lot of damage in the rain, and then you add Chien-Pao even next to it, and now this Urshifu is just doing straight up broken damage here. This next slot here, this is either something like Ferrograph or something like a Serena, and then after that, it's up for grabs depending on what you want in this last slot here. So this is an easy core to build with right now, and you don't even necessarily need the Serena. As long as you got these 4, these last 2 slots are just up to you depending on how you want to play it. So if we even look at this, besides Gavin Michaels' team here, right? Let's look at Eden's team down here at 26th place. So you've got Kyogre, and then look at this. You've got Kyogre, a Tailwind setter. This time it's Roaring Moon here. Then you've got Basket Legion. We're playing Regulation H, okay? Then you've got Archeladon here as well. We like Dark. And then you got Amoonguss here, and then here's Rillaboom. This one's a little bit different than the core I just mentioned, but it still makes sense. Again, you've got, you know, the Fake Out and the Redirection support here. You've got Tailwind still, and you can still set up Calm Minds, you know, with your Kyogre. And then as you go down, look at Daniel's team here, right? We're mixing and matching here. There it is. There's the Tailwind setter, Kyogre, not Tornadus, but Roaring Moon, Chien-Pao Ursh, there's the Serena, and then this last slot here, they want to play it with Raging Bolt. Cool, it still works. And again, that was Mystic Water. Then you've got Pengi over here. He's utilizing both Rillaboom and Serena. We've seen Pengi do this for a while now with this team, but again, it's revolving around that same 4. This is Life Orb Ursh, and this is Mystic Water Kyogre, so lots of damage. And then this is, again, Serena supporting the Kyogre from the Grassy Glides and the Thunderclaps that are coming out from Rillabooms and Raging Bolts. It's almost hard to bring those into this, right? Just because there's so much ice coverage here. And then at the same time, you deny their priority anyway. And then your Rillaboom just kind of comes in, changes terrain against Miraidon. And, you know, the double grass idea kind of works here too. And I think that's what they're doing here with Chase. And Chuppa, same idea, right? You know, more or less the same thing. Life Orb, I guess they must have like maybe did a little bit building together. But then this one from Oliver, there is the Archeladon. But look at this. So you're still getting Chien-Pao Ursh, right? But here's the Arc, but no Serena. Instead, we're adding Dragonite to this. But look at this D-Knight. This D-Knight is banned with Tailwind. We've seen this before already, but, you know, not necessarily this high at an IC, but here we go. Tailwind D-Knight, and then I guess you switch this out after you click your Tailwind. But other than that, you can just do like, you know, Chien-Pao D-Knight, or even like Urshifu Chien-Pao, and then D-Knight with Ursh, technically speaking. You know, a lot of different ideas that you can do there. So shout outs to Oliver there. And then instead of Serena, you can even do Ferrograph here, right? So you can go with the grass type with Rillaboom here, and then not double up with your grass types, and instead go with Ferrograph, and now you can even get Trick Room on your side. So this makes sense too. And then don't forget, Landorus is a good partner here with these Kyogre teams, just because of the 100% accurate Sandsphere Storms. This one is a little bit reminiscent of Justin Tang's team from last year, you know, with the Wo-Chien Grimmsnarl idea. And the whole point here is that the Wo-Chien is faster than the Ogre, so even if this Ogre takes a bunch of damage, you can heal it back with the Pollen Puff, and then it can do boosted Water Spout damage yet again. So, but this is a little bit different than their team, right? I think just these three pieces are the same, and then there's some variants here. Look, Volcarona and Ensign. So that's something that's a little bit different. And then even this one from Jonathan Marston, right? Even 5-3, yes. But again, Iron Jugulus is another Tailwind setter that you can consider. And then you get Snarl along with that, besides, you know, not getting intimidated if you're using the Roaring Moon calc there, right? So, you know, it's very clear what your top Ogre teams are doing right now. Yes, you can still do the Oliver Escalon stuff with the boring Calm Mind stuff. You know, well, I shouldn't say boring. Like, it's still good, right? That's pretty much what Ryan is doing over here, I guess, right? So shout out to Sableye. Again, 9-3, great result there. But, you know, it just depends on what you want to do with the Ogre. Do you want to do the fake out, you know, Calm Mind idea, or do you want to be the aggressive, you know, Chien-Pao, Tornadus, Ursh kind of Kyogre team? You look at the Miraidon teams right now from EUIC, and they're more or less the same kind of cores that you would find even since last year. But of course, there are some subtle changes that make all the difference, especially when you can change up 1 or 2 mons here. So we already take a look. We already saw like the top 4 stuff. But then as you scroll down, there's some interesting ideas here. Like, look at Luca here. Luca Scianci. By the way, can I just say that there's 3 Italian Lucas here? Like, you got Luca Scianci, you got Luca Cerebelli, and then you have Luca Casiolato. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not even sure, but we got 3 Lucas here, okay? And we're gonna be looking at this Luca here, the 28th place Luca. Then we'll look at 29th place Luca, world champion Luca. But look at this. It's AV Ensign, okay? Chien-Pao here. Okay, and then after that, you've got Terra Normal Gholdengo. So this is pretty good for like the Shadow Rider matchup. And then your Landorus, this can help you on like mirror matchups, especially, you know, you have like a little bit of a flying pivot here out of the ground weakness for your own Miraidon here. So there's something like that you can definitely take advantage of. So this is one way to utilize a different kind of Miraidon team, even though it has some similar pieces. Then you look at Lorenzo's team down here. Like, this one's also another different Miraidon team. Look at Lorenzo's team here. This is Scarf Miraidon, okay, with Electro Ball. I saw this on Twitter. I was like, yo, I gotta use this at some point. Choice Scarf Miraidon with Electro Ball. Okay, you know, you're basically now the fastest thing. There's no Alecki right now. Well, there is a little bit of Alecki, but even then, look at this: Chien-Pao, Ursh, Ogre, Iron Hands. Like, you've got 4 physical mons, and then you've got Ferrograph here, clicking Trick Room. You don't need Tailwind if you've got Scarf Miraidon here. So this is pretty cool to see. I would like to use that team at some point there. So shout outs to Lorenzo for utilizing that. And then, of course, you got Mr. Nielsen here, the Nielsen brothers, again, with this Sneasler on the Miraidon team here with Blood Moon or Saluna. This is something that we have seen from Nielsen before. They just brought it again to EUIC. And then, as you scroll further down, this is the other way to play Miraidon right now. This is like the Assault Vest idea with Dondozo Tatsugiri. Yep, and it is the same thing, or again, you've got Soak Tatsugiri though. So here's the cool thing about this. You've got Soak Tatsugiri, and we saw this in like Meridia Regionals, I believe it was, or was it another one before that? But the idea here with Soak Tatsugiri is now things are weak to Miraidon clicking the electric moves here. So even though you don't have the damage output that you would with Specs, you still can just make things weak to electric anyway, and they just die regardless to Electro Drift. And then Gholdengo, same thing over here. You know, again, Terra Normal, Make It Rain stuff. So we've seen a few Terra Normal Gholdengos here. And then, of course, Dondozo Tatsugiri just kind of cleans up. Or you can even lead this and just exert early game pressure this way. But Soak Tatsugiri is actually kind of funny when you think about it. Okay, then after that, I want to talk about the Slowbro on this Miraidon team at the end of the video when we spotlight like niche mons there, because that was kind of cool. But this one also, look at this one from Carlos. Another weird idea here with Miraidon. This is Life Orb Koraidon. Okay, that's not necessarily weird. You know, you do get Protect, so it's better positioning, a little bit less damage, but you get Pelipper here with Electric Seed. Okay, that's very, very Terra Ground Electric Seed Pelipper. Okay, with Wide Guard support, might I add. So just think about that for a second. And then once again, the recurring theme of Terra Normal Goldengo. Okay, yet again, but look at this Thunder Wave Goldengo. We're talking about the text now here. And look at this Volcarona set. Terra Dragon Volcarona with Rocky Helmet, Struggle Bug, Quiver Dance, and Rage Spider. So it's like you're trying to be supportive and aggressive at the same time. And then Iron Hands and Whimsicott are pretty much the same. So, you know, some interesting ideas, you know, with some familiar Miraidon pieces, but then you're just adding some new stuff here. So shout outs to Carlos. Again, that's another way to really utilize another kind of Miraidon team. But then look at this one down here with the Oranguru and the Tinkaton. I'm going to, again, leave this for the end of the video when we spotlight some of this stuff. Again, the Pranks are thunderous too. Same thing there. We're going to look at that a little bit later. Now, sometimes you may see this type of team with the Iron Leaves, which again can do well in all terrains, regardless, whether it's Rillaboom or Indeedee terrain. So there's that. But again, Terra Normal, again, just helping you get around the Calyrex, removing your Dark Weakness at the same time. Does get Intimidate cycled, but you can deal with it if you just blow it up with something like Electroshock with the Miraidon, right? So again, some interesting ideas here, and you're still seeing the Dondozo AV Miraidon stuff there. But again, some tech choices are making all the difference here, and we got to see that, you know, with some of these Miraidon teams here. Again, the Treads, the Ditto, and the Grimmsnarls, and then now we're starting to see some Chien-Pao additions to these Miraidon teams here, and you know, all the more welcome change here, because I'm tired of seeing the same Luca 6 over and over again on ladder, right? It's time to do something else with Miraidon. Yes, it's probably still really, really good. Of course it is, but come on, man, we're 6 months in. You're telling me that we can't think of something else besides that same Miraidon 6. Now, for the Terapagos teams here, you know, there was some still pretty good, solid results from Pagos, but just not nearly as much as some of the other restricteds here. It's still, like, good on paper, but it's just, you know, I think they're going to need a little bit more here. But this is what they're doing right now. First of all, you know, you're getting the Calm Mind, and you're getting the substitute idea with Pagos, right? And then after that, it's just this Incin, Rillaboom, okay? And then pick your Ogerpon here. Usually this will be like Ogerpon Heartflame, or this will be something like Ogerpon Cornerstone there. And then the other two slots just all depends on what you want to do with it, okay? After that, you might run Tailwind, you might run Scream Tail, you might run Amoonguss, but either way, some sort of support to try and set up this Pagos after you've clicked Fake Out and Calm Mind, you know, 16 times, and until you're ready to sweep, okay? You know, but this is really what it's looking like right now. And if we go into Lab Mouse, that's exactly what it is. But there were some interesting tech choices here. And I'm going to start first with Magmar here. Not Magmar. I'm sorry. Heatran. Okay, because Heatran was a tech choice, right? And let's look at the highest placing Pagos team here, right? So like we said, there's the Instant, there's a Rillaboom, there's a Cornerstone here, right? So they got the 4. There's the Scream Tail that we talked about. Again, Encore Disable, really good partner for Pagos, because you get to stop the Zamazentas from clicking Body Press, right? You can bait it out by clicking Protect, and then you can just Encore/disable them, and then now they just can't really click Body Press anymore. They have to switch out there. The Heatran can also do well here. Flash Fire, pretty good, but against something like Koraidon here, and then, you know, you can just trap things with Magma Storm. You know, Terra Blast, Terra Fairy is also pretty good against Urshifu stuff, so you can blast them that way. And then Heavy Slam is for sniping, you know, the fairy types like a Fluttermane, for example, right? So, you know, Heatran having a niche within this format here. Again, Flash Fire, being able to take those big Flare Blitz attacks from something like a Flare Blitz Koraidon, for example, there. So pretty cool there. And then Magma Storm just trapping the Zamazenta stuff is also pretty interesting in itself, right? Then, you know, you just go Terra Fairy. They can't click Body Press anymore. You kind of just wall them out, which is kind of funny when you think about it, right? Because again, Terra Fairy with the Flash Fire, you can't click your fighting move. You can't click your fire move. So what is Koraidon doing? Nothing. What is Zamazenta doing? Nothing. Okay, so Heatran with this Terra is a pretty good partner, for Terapagos there. So I think more people are starting to realize that, and this is why it rose up a little bit more in usage. But then other than that, it's just pretty much standard stuff here. And then if you keep going down here, now we're adding the Tornadus idea, right? So maybe we can get a little bit more of an edge against some of the more middle tier, faster teams, right? The Tailwind is going to help us here. This time you add Earth Power instead of Substitute, but still more or less the same kind of things we're doing here with the Incin, the Ogre, and the Redirector and Amoonguss. So, but at least now you're adding Tornadus Ursh. Marcos, same thing, right? Marco Silva, they're doing the same thing here, especially down here. Like, look at the Heatran usage, right? It's it's a good partner. It's a rising partner. Like, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 Heatrans, 5 Heatrans already that I see on my screen on these Terapagos kind of things, and they're all basically the same idea. You're just going Incin, Rillaboom, Ursh with the Ogre Pawn here. Sometimes you might run Fluttermane, sometimes you might run a Scream Tail, maybe an Urshifu. There's not too many, but there are some, and then that's it. They're pretty much having the same kind of cores, okay? And because of that, you're getting the same results. You're all getting 9-3, okay? And there's a couple of 8-4s here, and then there's this one, right? Even though this got 5-3. Sometimes you'll see this type of team, Tornadus, Iron Hands with Pagos, and then something like a Fire type with either Chiyu, but this case they have the Incineroar. So yeah, I guess that'll still work. But again, more people utilizing Heatran a little bit more. So we'll have to wait and see if this is the way to stick around with Pagos. But I still think playing it a little bit more aggressive with choice specs definitely merits a little bit more exploration with Tailwind support. With the exception of Wolfe's team here, the Koraidon cores haven't really changed all that much. There is a different type of Koraidon team besides the ones I'm going to show you here. But first, let's establish like the baseline here. So when you have Koraidon, the same way when you build Groudon, you need 2 photosynthesis mods. Sometimes you can get away with 1, but ideally you need at least 2, and usually your most common ones are going to be Raging Bolt and the Fluttermane here, okay? They're going to give you speed control, they're going to give you priority, and then they're going to give you damage because they both can benefit in the sun, especially the Raging Bolt here. So you can start out with these guys, and then from here, usually you'll have something like an Ogre Pawn Cornerstone or Heart Flame, either way. But then even once you have these 4, you still need an Ice Rider matchup, because these guys are not going to help you all that much into Ice Rider. Maybe this guy can help you a little bit. But usually this will come in the form of something like Umbreon here, where you're pretty bulky. You can take a Glacial Lance, and then you can just foul play, against the Ice Rider, and then you can Moonlight in the sun and get back your healing. You can force out with, something like Yawn, for example. Sometimes you might do this with a Ditto, and then just copy the Calyrex and deal with it that way. Otherwise, you can also utilize the Glacier. This was something that was starting up last year. A couple Japanese players did this, but the whole idea with the Glacier is that you're doing Iron Defense Body Press stuff, okay? And then, with something like Leftovers Trick Room, that they click. So now what we're saying here is that we're faster than the Ice Rider under Trick Room because we're base 30, they're base 50. So we can go with our Iron Defense first, soak up all those Glacial Lances, and then, from there start body pressing things. And, this is the one matchup where you bring the Glacier, right? So you're able to resist the Glacial Lance, and then you take neutral damage from the high horsepower, and you're just not taking all that much damage anyway. So the Glacier fulfills that role relatively nicely, okay? So that's like the cores of the Koraidon teams. Give me the photosynthesis mods, give me an Ogre Pawn, and then give me some Ice Rider / Shadow Rider matchup, right? And sometimes they'll even have a strong fire type here, something like a Chiyu. They'll have that, which also benefits in the sun, or they'll also have Entei over here, which also does a lot of damage in the sun. Sometimes these teams will use Champao a little bit, but sometimes there's no space if you have already the Ogre Pawn here. But usually a strong fire type can do well in the sun with some of these Koraidon teams here, all right? The formula hasn't really changed, all right, if you want to go with it in terms of that. But the other type of team that you can see here is some of these players are starting to use it with Dondos a little bit. So let's look at this. So look at Victor here at 22nd place. This is Ability Shield Koraidon, right? So you're going to get your sun. And then you're adding Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff, okay? And then at the same time, look at us. By the way, this is Rocky Helmet Dozo with, with Order Up and Rest and Sleep Talk, okay? No Protect on this thing. And then Weezing with Terra Ground here with the Toxic Spikes and the Poison Gas. Wow. Well, that's all I can say here. So Victor is utilizing the Weezing idea this way. We've seen this with the CSR, okay, but haven't really seen it with the Koraidon here, so that's pretty cool from Victor. And then, again, like we said here, look at this 9-3 team. The same kind of squad that we were just talking about. Give me the Photosynthesis Mons, give me an Ogre, give me a strong Fire type, and then give me some Ice Rider / Shadow Rider matchup. This is exactly what we were saying with Koraidon, right? And, you know, we see a couple of these few times here. There's a lot of Umbreon Koraidon teams here. And then at the same time, they can use Ditto. So look at this from Juan. Same thing. Give me the Protomons, give me the Ogerpon, give me a strong Fire type. In this case, it's Chiyu. And then give me the Ditto. Alright, same formula. And then here's that Iron Defense Body Press Clasher that we were talking about. But they also have a Rillaboom here, oddly enough. Alright, Terrain Control over Miraidon. Still pretty useful. And then, you know, some Fake Out Pressure to be able to set up this Glacier. Okay, so still does wonders here. And then at the same time, look at this AV Koraidon, by the way. Alright, so now you got Course, Blitz, and Charge. And then now you add another Dragon move with Dragon Claw there. So how about that for another little bit of variance with the Koraidon here. And then here's that same kind of Dondozo team down here. Covert Cloak Weezing, Poison Gas, Toxic Spikes. Okay, this is the Droopy Tatsugiri. There's the Ability Shield Koraidon. So again, the same similar idea that Victor had over there. And then from there, it's just like, okay, it gets a little weird. Here's that Iron Crown one that we did. Remember, this was Justin Knox's team that we featured on the channel. And this was also brought to EUIC. 5-3 result. Still pretty good. The Venusaur stuff. And then, is this Michael Zhang's team? Almost, right? There's the Bonnet. There's the Fluttermane. I don't think there's a Raging Bolt there. But then we get a Ditto here. This is Loaded Dice Koraidon. You know, it's Scale Shot. So this is also pretty interesting. And again, nice to see Brute Bonnet get a little bit of action on this. So, you know, so some variants, right? Then we have, you know, these are a lot of 5-3 teams. But again, there's some ideas that people are trying. Oh, this is the Michael Zhang team, right? I think this is what Jamie Boyd is bringing. Is this it? Or no. This looks something a little bit different there. It almost looks like it, right? Look at the Zoom Lens Heatran here with Substitute Terra Blast here. All right, there's the Life Orb Koraidon with Breaking Swipe, good damage mitigation. Walking Wake with Snarl and Specs. Okay, Gouging Fire, Dragon Dance Gouging Fire. Holy smokes! And then our Fluttermane here is Thunder Wave and Hex. Oh man, Jamie Boyd, you've done it again, man. You've done it again, Jamie Boyd. What else do we see here that I kind of missed there? But I think that's pretty much it. I think a lot of these cores are very similar in what they're supposed to do. Funny enough, I don't see a single Chien-Pao variant within the top placing Koraidon teams, and that's okay. You know, the rest of the formula is still pretty much the same. The Zamazenta cores. Right now, they're still using a lot of that Tomoyuki 6 that we've covered in our previous videos. So usually, it'll be something like this. They'll have Chien-Pao, and then they'll have an Amoonguss here. So what we're doing here is we're doing a lot more damage because we have Chien-Pao here. Body Press is really strong. Amoonguss also pretty good into the mirror matchup. Also gives you a Trick Room matchup. And then you have special attacking offense here, you know, with Fluttermane and the Chiyu here, right? And then this last slot, it can be up for grabs. Usually, this will be something like Raging Bolt, right? Or you can either have something like Urshifu here just to, you know, combo a little bit better with the Chien-Pao here. And then now you still get a little Fire, Water, Grass core. So this is also pretty good if you want to play this way. Otherwise, we have seen the other way that is also being used with Zamazenta right now. And that is the same Dondozo Ting-Lu variant that we've been showing you before with the, you know, the Yawn stuff with the Sand Tomb idea, right? But Ting-Lu, oddly enough, is not a bad niche Pokemon because, again, Ground Dark typing, pretty good into Shadow Rider and Miraidon. And, you know, technically Miraidon does have a fairy move there, but you're reducing a lot of that damage. You've got a lot of physical bulk already, so now you're just reducing special attacking damage. So Ting-Lu is not a bad partner with Zamazenta. And then now you're just comboing this with Dondozo stuff, right? You know, the Yawn Stealth Rocks, the Yawn Sand Tomb idea. And that's exactly what we're looking at here with the Zam teams here. So look at this one right here, 13th place from Rafe, Canada. So there's the Zam, there's the Chien-Pao, and then again, there's the Dondozo bird with the Ting-Lu idea, right? Sand Tomb, Yawn stuff, Taunt, Ruination, Terra Poison, and then rounded out with Raging Bolt here. So Bolt Beam coverage here, and then Heart Flame just gives you some sort of Fire, Water, Grass Core, right? So you can do something like this, and it works well, right? Again, 11-3, really, really good result. And then right here, Angelo is saying, okay, well, I still want Scarf Landorus for my Miraidon matchup, so I'm still going to use that, okay? And I can still have Chien-Pao with like an Ogerpon and a Rillaboom. I don't need Fluttermane Chi-Yu stuff. I can still just use one of them, and here is the Fluttermane here. So we can do something like that. Otherwise, look at this from Marco. He's got Dragonite here, so now if we're going to have Chien-Pao, might as well throw in the Dragonite, okay? Still keep the Amoonguss and Chi-Yu. Okay, we have the double Dragon idea now with D-Knight and Raging Bolt here. But again, another physical mode here with D-Knight, Chien-Pao, and Zamazenta. But this is water... Wait, this is Waterfall Dragonite, okay? I don't think I've seen that before. Wait a minute. I mean, Waterfall Dragonite? Hold on a second. What is this supposed to do? Oh, we're going with the flinch idea? Is this what we're doing? Okay, I mean, sure. Going for the hacks there. All right, I kind of get it. But then you look at some of the other stuff. Yeah, okay, how about this one? I think it's more or less the same idea, right? Sand, Tomb, Taunt, Brunation. Chien-Pao comes in here, right? Same stuff, okay? But then the actual Tomoyuki, look at this. Here we go. He's like, no, I'm using the OG Tomoyuki 6. Here it is. So we've seen this pretty cool. Again, crunch here on the Chien-Pao with Sucker Punch, no Sacred Sword needed. Your fighting coverage is coming all from this. Scarf Chi-Yu, Icy Wind, Terra Grass, Fluttermane, E-Webs, Raging Bolt, a lot of speed control here. And then, of course, Amoonguss for your Spore Shenanigans, right? And then this one right here, utilizing the Entei Chien-Pao with Zamazenta idea. Give me a Cornerstone, give me the Amoonguss, give me a Fluttermane, right? So Entei Chien-Pao is the essence of that core. And we see a lot of Chien-Pao Zamazenta. Like, look at this. A lot of Chien-Pao Amoonguss stuff. Sometimes Fluttermane Chi-Yu come in. But yeah, and then how about this one? Look at this. We've got Rhydon here. Remember when we did a video with Rhydon? You know, with... oh my goodness, the name escapes me. But it was the Lunala squad with Rhydon, Zapdos, and Lapras. Vardon, right? And then this was the Lightning Rod, Rhydon here. And that's specifically for that matchup, right? So pretty cool to see that there. And then again, still more of the same formulas that we're seeing. Look how many times the Zamazenta is repeating, man. It's the same thing. So, you know, some small differences, but for the most part, a lot of these Zom teams are also the same as we've come to know. Okay, now before we head into the section where we're going to talk and look at some niche Pokemon that did pretty well, I just want to look at some of the other lesser restricteds that still had some day 2 results. Lunala, Zacian, and Groudon. These guys are always going to find a couple spots within day 2. All right, but again, like we say with these guys, you're working harder than you need to, but perhaps they're your favorite restricted and you really want to make them work. So what are the cores and what are the combos that you can do to make them work? Let's start with Lunala here. Did a whole team building video recently, right? A couple days ago. Actually yesterday. So here we go, Julio, right? So he's utilizing a very familiar core that we've seen. Again, double Luna with Indeedee and Tornadus and Ursh, right? So you have expanding force ideas. You have Tailwind support with this Indeedee and this Ursh. There's the U-turn versus the taunt argument. And then you got the Ursaluna Amoonguss for your trick remote. So this is one way to do it. Then after that, how about let's make Torkoal the actual restricted here. So let's go with the Indeedee Torkoal idea. And then you can, oh, how about this? Instant Okidogi Ditto. This is very different, okay? So nice to see Okidogi come and have some usage here, especially with this AV set and Guard Dog here. Again, Gunk Shot looking really good against, like, you know, the Ogerpons for that matter. You basically one-shot them. Draining Punch, of course, for the Dark types that may give Lunala some trouble along with Close Combat. And then Knockoff, of course, for, like, the other Calyrex matchup. Right, Knockoff, you get to remove stuff like Clear Amulet, let Incineroar come in and cycle, intimidates. So pretty good idea there. And then of course Ditto can copy another restricted. So after that, it's just a bunch of 5-3 Lunalas, right? And similar ideas. They're all using, you know, Ursaluna with Tailwind support. Most of them are anyway. But we had the breakthrough here with these guys. Then look at Zacian. Okay, and of course, no surprise here, it's the Regidrago stuff, right? Look at all these Zacian squads. It's all Regidrago stuff with Tailwind support. And that's that's really the main thing with Zacian right now, and that's the only build. I don't want to say the only build, but it's the main build that people are utilizing with it. Give me a Tailwind setter, give me Regidrago, okay, and then in the back end, you know, give me some redirections for maybe some anti-priority, okay. And here we are. We have a Ditto. The Ditto can copy the restricted, right? So then after that, look at this. Same idea here, right? Whimsicott and Amoonguss. Then there's the Ditto, the Scarf Ditto versus Sash Chiyu. So you can definitely do something like this. And then at the same time, maybe you add a Ferrigraph here just to have some anti-priority, because Regidrago doesn't want to be taking priority moves, otherwise less damage for Dragon Energy. So you can think of it like that. This one is also pretty cool. This one, even though again 5-3, but this is coaching Annihilate, where you can coach the Zacian or the Chien-Pao here. This also makes some sense. Okay, and then if we look at Groudon, okay, it's the main two Groudon teams where looks like the Jump Love 6, right? So Tailwind, Sleep Powder stuff with Rage Powder, Single Strike Ursh for your Ice Rider and Shadow Rider matchup, Strong Fire type in the Sun, Raging Bolt, Photosynthesis stuff, right? Same thing right here from Leonard. I would imagine more or less the same kind of team. Good job, Joe Ugarte. But then look at this. Then we start to see some variants with some of these Day 2 Groudon teams. Look at this. Alright, so you've got the Gouging Fire with Howl. Yes, we know this already, along with Chien-Pao. And then you add Raging Bolt, Volcarona. Support Volcarona, by the way, with Tailwind, and then Ogerpon Cornerstone. So we've seen this before, especially with the Gouging Fire here. Right, this started out as like the Chinese Sun team, okay, and then look at this one. This one gets even weirder, but still pretty cool, because now look at this. You've got Iron Jugulis with Booster Energy, so Tailwind and Snarl support. So this is gonna make Groudon go fast. This is gonna be your Shadow Rider matchup. Strong Fire type in the Sun, Raging Bolt, Photosynthesis Mod. You can start with these three as the core. Mienshao. Coaching support for Groudon, boosting its damage, because again, I have no bulk up here. Fake Out Pressure, yes. And then Klefki, okay, with, you know, the screen support, and then Misty Terrain, okay. So, you know, Misty Terrain, pretty cool. The status stuff, right? So that's also, and then again, reducing dragon damage against your Jugulis and your Raging Bolt. So that in itself is all pretty good and dandy. So nice to see that. But then look, this one stood out to me. This 5-3 squad here. This one had Dusclops. Okay, Dusclops and Ursaluna here, along with your Groudon. So double ground type here. And then it's like they took the Jump Bluff core and then they changed these last two slots here. Look at this: Nightshade, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Trick Room. Standard Clop set, honestly. And then Ursaluna, same thing here. I wonder if there's some speed with this Ursaluna with this Jump Bluff here. I don't think so, because you have a Dusclops Trick Room mode here. This is probably just like a secondary mode to the team. But Groudon can be slow. It can be functioning in Trick Room and Tailwind. So it's in that awkward speed tier of like 90. But yeah, again, like we said, you're going to be working harder than you need to with those three restricteds, but at least they're getting results, right? Alright, so now what I want to do is actually just highlight some niche Pokemon that we're able to at least get some decent results here. And, you know, these guys are never going to really break the meta, but they're always going to have some defined role on some particular teams. And it's just pretty cool to, you know, see them do well. Like, we've already, like, highlighted Heatran a little bit, but that was something that was on the rise already. So, funny enough, I couldn't really find any until I went to, like, the 100s here. So, right away, we saw this a little bit earlier, and I waited until now to cover it. But look at this team right here from Thomas Schultz. This Miraidon team has a Slowbro, all right? Now, if you just look at this team, like, these other five are pretty standard, okay? You got the Grimmsnarl, you know, for screen support. Volcarona is actually a little bit more aggressive with the Quiver Dance, Giga Drain Hit, like we saw from Joe Ugarte. Then Iron Hands and Urshifu. You know, standard stuff. But then you see a Slowbro here, and you're like, why? All right, well, I would imagine this is for, like, your Trick Room matchup. And, you know, the chance to burn with Scald is kind of funny. And then you just have Slack Off for healing, and then Heal Pulse just to heal your allies is actually kind of funny. And then this thing can kind of somewhat sit in front of the Ice Rider a little bit and just keep spamming Scalds and then just keep slacking off and healing over time. So it's kind of funny when you think about the role of Slowbro on your team for something like this. That's what I think is its role. And then, you know, it gets Regenerator. So just like Amoonguss, you can switch this in and out, get a little bit more HP recovery. But it's kind of funny to see Slowbro in this role there. So shout out to Thomas. If only they, well, you know, maybe later on they'll make a rental public and then we get to use Slowbro ourselves. But yeah, that's one. And then as we keep scrolling down a little bit further, right here at 118, look at this. We got Araquanid and Gastrodon here, right? This is a Shadow Rider team, okay? And then it's not even like fast. Look, it's got a bunch of slow mons here. Okie dokie, Araquanid, and Gastrodon here. So like Clear Smog and Yawn. So you're fighting for positioning. This is pretty good for like Urshifus and, you know, Kyogre. Then you've got Araquanid with Wide Guard support. And then Liquidation, Infestation. So now you can add this with Yawn. And now, you know, you just force them to switch and stuff like that. And then just trap them in. They have to make a choice. All right, I'm just going to take this. And then, you know, we already talked about Okidogi already. But this is kind of funny when you think about it. So shout outs to Martin, man. You know, 8-4 result with this squad. We want to use that too. Okay, then as we scroll a little bit further down, a little bit more standard stuff that we saw already. But then we hit this team right here. Look at this one, right? Look, you've got Electric Seed Miraidon with Calm Mind and Parabolic Charge, man. You know, if you don't know what this does, you're going to deal damage and then you get to heal 50% of it back. So you get recovery, right? So it's almost like Oblivion Wing a little bit, right? But Calm Mind here with Miraidon. Then look at this Orang Guru. Look at this set. Instruct, of course we know. Scary Phase, Bulldoze, and Taunt. My goodness, is this ever a global challenge team as I've ever seen? Okay. So I guess I can see the ideas here. Like you could do like Bulldoze next to Thunderous a little bit. Look at this. Thunderwave, Eerie Impulse, Electric Terrain. So you have manual terrain. So this way, in case they want to bring their Rillabooms, right, or their Indeedis, you can just reset it with Electric Terrain. And then start clicking Eerie Impulses and Thunder Waves for speed control and damage mitigation, especially against a Shadow Rider. And then Tinkaton with Mold Breaker, you can just smash the Ogres, right? You know, you can fake out Furrygraph, which is exactly what they're doing here. Then Gigaton, Play Rough, and then Feint, Breakthrough, Protects, Smash Through with Miraidon. You get some standard set here with Instant and Ogerpon here. What a team, man. You know, so 7-5, pretty cool in all honesty, right? I have to give it up to them. And then we don't see too much again that we haven't already covered. We already did the Klefki stuff. But then if you scroll down here, right, we have to go far because a lot of this was still like pretty standard. I think I have it at 263. What was that 263 over here? Right there. Okay, yeah, look at this, man. We got Azumarill and Comfey and Dragapult. Look at this, Sash Pult, Comfey, and then AV Azumarill. Holy smokes here, right? Now, again, this is not going to break the bank here, but again, 5-3 is still like kind of cool when you think about it. You know, just again, of course, Comfey Terapagos is pretty cool, you know, with the Calm Mind set. This is Thunder Wave, Dragapult there. You can't body press a Ghost type there. Azumarill, again, with Ice Spinner, breaks through terrain. And then, you know, Aqua Jet, Player of Liquidation, huge power, going to do a lot of damage. Instant Ogerpon Wellspring gives you that Fire with a Grass Core. Pretty cool in all honesty, like a couple niche mons there. But I almost forgot, you know, hold on, let me go back up to the 6-6. There was an interesting restricted that we didn't get to highlight here that we're going to highlight right now. I saw it earlier, right here. David Huttner, right, with Rayquaza in day 2, man. I never thought I'd see it. Well, actually, we did see this at one point in a regional, you know, last year. But that was with, like, Tropius. This one is just straight Chenpao, Rayquaza, Swords Dance, E-Speed. Of course, then just one-shot things next to Chenpao. So, and then what's also pretty cool, again, Airlock, remove the weather. So then now you just have all these other broken Pokemon with it, right? You got Urshifu, Fluttermane, Incin. Okay, give me another Ogerpon here for my Ogre matchup a little bit. And then now we just have like, you know, pretty balanced Rayquaza stuff here, right? Just all priority. 1, 2, 3 Pokemon with priority. Parasong Fluttermane, by the way, might I add. So once you pick up the KOs with the E-Speed / Swords Dance setup, then you just click Paris and end the game already, right? So shout outs to David, man. Cool idea there. And then there was some other stuff in the 400s, right? I'm going that far. Like, you know, I know these teams are like 5-3, but, you know, I still want to shout them out because, again, one win away from day 2 in the biggest tour ever is actually kind of significant in all honesty. Right, how about here from Ozra Stone? We got Chestnut here. Okay, we saw this before. We did a whole video on this. You know, IDBP Chestnut here with Bulletproof. Again, with Terra Water here is also pretty cool. Wide Guard support with Chestnut, right? Again, if you got Wide Guard, you're going to have a niche in regulationG. And then after that, it's just pretty much standard CSR stuff. And then down, not too far here, right here, And Anthony, look at this, another Rayquaza team here. And again, 5-3, almost getting day 2. But again, similar idea. Just they have a Hitmontop over Instant, it looks like. You know, Instant does make a difference between getting in day 2 and not getting in day 2, right? But here we go. You get Wide Guard and Coaching. All right, so there's some niche here for the Hitmontop. But again, you know, that's what we're talking about, right? We want some role that we can have with some of these guys here. So I respect the Hitmontop attempt for EUIC for sure. All right, William Taylor here. Look, this looks like an older Kyogre team from like the beginnings of Reg H. But we've got the Rain Ogre with Citrus Berry Kyogre, no Water Spout. There's no Tailwind here. You've got Overqwil here with Poison Jab, Taunt, Acupuncture, Destiny Bond. That is the tech, okay? And then after that, it's just pretty straightforward here, especially with Arc, with Snarl here. And then look at Aurelion down here, okay? Look at this. Calyrex-Ice Rider, but once again, we have Tinkaton, same thing, right? Fake out, wait, but this is own tempo. All right, and then we've got Iron Moth with Screech, okay, the tech, making Calyrex-Ice Rider do more damage, also technically making Urshifu do more damage, all right, because Screech drops defenses. And then after that, you got Light Screen support, so you got, you know, some damage mitigation there. Galarian Moltres, you know, with Tailwind here, so now you're making everything faster. And then, you know, just really good matchup into the CSR. There's a lot of niche mons here. And then you've got Sinistcha here. Again, we know what Sinistcha can do. You could just come in and heal things. This combos well with Moltres too, right? Because, you know, you're just allowing yourself to dip in with Berserk here. So, you know, you got Tailwind support. You can outspeed things, keep getting damage, and, you know, take advantage of the chip and then just go over with the healing support here. So I can totally see this, right? But the fact that we're rolling into EUIC with Tinkaton, Iron Moth, and Galarian Moltres, that is pretty cool in itself. So shout out to Aurelion, man. Great job there with the team building, in all honesty, right? But overall, you know, just like we showed with a lot of the cores here, a lot of what has worked already ended up working here, okay? There were some small tweaks and changes, right? But for the most part, the common cores were still good even right now. And, you know, we still have more regionals coming in next month. We even have the global challenge, another global challenge coming up. So be ready to see some of these teams into, you know, moving forward, right? And, you know, people are going to try Wolf's team, right? And people are also going to use a little bit more of Dylan's team, right? But, you know, in reality, I still think some of this other stuff is still going to be fine, right? But we'll have to wait and see if there's a little bit more innovation moving forward. Because, again, this is now 6 months in Regulation G, but still, there is still room for a little bit more variance here, despite the common cores. All right, but that's it for now, folks. Let me know what you thought of our EUIC recap there, and if we put into perspective a lot of the common cores for the teams that are still strong even right now. And hopefully we've inspired and given you a little bit more perspective for your own team building. But that's it. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.